Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of The Late Challenge. I am Mo Stewart. That is not Gareth Roberts. You may well be looking at him and thinking, I know who that fella is. And you're right. Rob Gutmann, thank you for coming back, mate.
For it is I.
It is you. That's for the people listening on audio.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Mo. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, so Robbo has got important business to do in that there London. He may even be watching now, so if you are Robbo, hello. But yeah, he'll be back.
Which camera do I wave at?
Whichever one you like, they'll catch you.
Hi, guys. Hope you're having a lovely time.
So yes, thank you for bearing with us. Obviously, we're a little bit earlier than we normally do on a Monday. And thank you for coming as it is anyway, because frankly, I can understand why you wouldn't want to come here and listen to us talk about Liverpool, having watched Liverpool, because at the moment, both of those things right now are very tough. The frustration is growing week after week after week. Another game which Liverpool did not win, a fourth draw in a row. The weirdest thing about this season, they went 20 games without a draw, and now they've drawn 6 out of the last 11 games. They can't stop drawing.
Love draws.
Love draws. Not bad enough to lose, not good enough to win, and not really much fun to watch.
No, I was with Neil on the Anfield app doing a show yesterday. Do you want to hear the apologist version of this first? Because Neil built a case for not purely about yesterday. If you notice, we weren't the only team to drop points.
Yes, I did notice, yes.
Champions-elect Arsenal dropped points against a lower team. City got beaten by a rubbish team. Arsenal haven't won their last 2. Neil said there was a statistic, I think, on a BBC site that said out of not the big 6, the current top 6, if you take all of the last 4 games, all of them have played in aggregate. So that's about 24 games, right? Probably a bit less because 1 or 2 have played against each other. There've only been, do you know how many wins in those 24-ish encounters there've been?
Seeing as I did see this week, I do know, but I'm going to pretend I didn't. No.
A 6, Neil claims. I haven't seen the piece, so I'm going on his information. Feels quite a low amount of wins in that many games.
So there are always going to be periods of the season when everyone finds it tough. And particularly the teams at the top of the league, who are usually also teams in Europe, the kind of cumulative fatigue of the season can occasionally catch up with you. That as much is true. And we got to a weird week this week where I think it was all of the bottom 5, none of the bottom 5 lost, and none of the top 5 won.
Wild.
Yeah. But
Liverpool.
The problem is you cannot use that situation to say, oh, well, that's why Liverpool were rubbish. Oh, it's fine. Because Liverpool's current situation has been going on for quite some time. And while there may be conversations about the state of the league, I think there was another thing. So there's been more 0-0 draws this season than there was entirety of last season. And all of those general wider football conversations, when we are concentrating on Liverpool, as we kind of are here to do, it kind of doesn't really track because we've been watching this team play like this or versions of this for quite some time when some of those issues shouldn't have been issues.
It's hard. I mean, I thought had we got our second goal on 60, we'd have all been going, nice performance by the Reds today, and seeing it out for 2-0, nice performance. I thought Liverpool were good at times. It wasn't the same performance as we saw against Leeds, even though when points were dropped against Sunderland, another one of the newly promoted sides. It was a better performance than we saw against Fulham away. And I know we're talking about different levels of football team here. Burnley are crap objectively.
Yeah.
But even when we were winning at the beginning of the season, we took we had to get a 96th minute penalty or something to dispose of them. They've proved quite resolute when they want to just low block. When they come out, they're vulnerable. So not ironically, but Liverpool, it wasn't one of our worst performances in recent months. But it is a draw at home to the bottom place. Are they bottom still? Second bottom place team in the Premier League. It's just empirically unacceptable, and that's why I think the fans were cutting the team no slack at full time. Why boos rang out. I've mulled it through in my mind exactly what Liverpool did wrong, because I thought Burnley were quite a lively, quite a good team if I knew nothing about them. You know, if I just was watching a game in another league, I go, they're quite decent. Where are they in the league? I thought they were all right. I thought they defended resolutely and they looked sharp when they came out.
They had an idea what to do when
they had an idea, and they had a couple of technical players. And the goal itself they score is a brilliant strike from the guy. I mean, I know we're going to ask questions about our defending, but that's not a game where you come away from it and go, well, Liverpool, same old, shit at set pieces. Konate's gone and given away a needless penalty. You know, what the category of error, as you perceive it, wasn't the same. So you go, well, why the hell didn't Liverpool win that football match? And for me, I think a couple of them said it after the game. There's a lack of ruthlessness in front of goal.
Yes.
It's almost as if we should have bought £125 million striker to sort that problem out.
Well, that's the irony, isn't it? Is that if you'd have said to Arne Slot at the start of the season, or maybe even on September 2nd when Isak was in the building, this is probably the last thing he expected to have an issue with. And the fact that it was almost as if trying to avoid this was the main reason for that outlay.
Very much so.
To try and be like, okay, we're not going to have as many tight games as we had last season. How many times we were hanging on to a 1-goal lead going into the last 15 minutes, and consequently meant that when we got to February and March, we had no energy. Let's start winning games 2-3-0. Let's start bringing in some killers to start knocking these balls away. And it just absolutely hasn't happened. And we've seen in some of those players that they've brought in enough glimpses to say that they can get there. So I do think Ekitike and Wirtz now, who's obviously got, 4 and 6?
Mm-hmm.
I think by the time we get to start next season, they're going to be, if not already, those kind of killers. The problem is that they weren't the ones getting the majority of the strikes. If you look at the game, I think Szoboszlai had another 6 shots. I think Cody Gakpo had another 7 shots in this game. And Szoboszlai can strike a ball, but
it's a high XG, isn't it, with Liverpool getting that game?
Yeah.
Although the penalty probably spikes it.
The XG is one of those things that's caused a lot of debate. There's quite a few things that we talk about.
I'm not an XG guy, but occasionally in that kind of game, you think, it is a
So I think the issue is that it was a higher, even if you take away the penalty, I think it was an XG of around 2.5.
Yeah.
The problem is that a lot of that's just down to volume. So there's a lot of shots, and a lot of low value shots will sometimes get you up there. But I also have an issue with XG because you can look at a shot and it will say it's a 0.07 XG, which you think is very low. But then you'll see the shot and you'll think, well, actually, I'd upgrade that. I would say that was a better value shot than that number suggests.
There are 1,000,001 flaws with XG, right? I mean, huge amount of flaws. The main one, I think, is it obviously disregards who's taking the shot because it's an average. But if a ball lands on the penalty spot in acres of space from a cross to Joe Gomez, who has never scored in his Liverpool career, it is not the same XG in real terms as it is if it lands at the feet of someone like Florian Wirtz or Ugo Ekitike. It's just not the same. The other thing XG doesn't seem to, and somebody might correct me, I'm sure I've asked this question in other forums than this. It doesn't take into account the weight of the ball passed to the player who takes the shot. How it doesn't really take into account quite how the ball arrives at the point where the shot is taken.
No, that's an interesting point because
which is massive.
It does take into account the proximity of defenders, but as you say, if someone's fired the ball into you, then you're going to take more time to control the ball, which means that the proximity of those defenders may change between striking the ball. Now, there is a different one. I think it's XG on target, which there's another metric.
Post-shot XG,
that's
isn't
the
it?
one I'm thinking of, where they mark based on the shot how likely it is to go in, which I feel like probably should be a little bit more widely used than just normal XG. But anyway, we're getting bogged down.
What it does sort of tell you broadly in a game like this is the one team had a shitload of shots and the other team had fuck all.
So that's very true. I think the weird thing about what you said earlier on is that it was different from Leeds and Sunderland. And Fulham. I did honestly think it was. And it was a weird situation for me because I wasn't watching the game live. I was watching it back, having already known the end result. I was following the text score live because I was in Manchester doing journalism things. And I was following along with the text, and I was seeing all the positive noises people were making about Liverpool's play in the first half, and how this is how you beat a low block. They were getting wide. They were getting players in the box when those crosses happening. They were really testing Burnley left and right, back and forwards. And I thought, okay, that's good. That's good news. Then there's the penalty. Now, I would not have suspected Dominic Szoboszlai to miss a penalty. I think
he never fucking misses a penalty.
I think it's 2 out of 22 attempts, which is hardly any.
And he's the most predictable penalty taker I've ever seen. And he's arrogantly brilliant penalty taker. He almost goes there and puts it there.
Yeah.
Every time. In fact, he scores a penalty against Inter Milan away, doesn't he? This season. And he does exactly that. Rifles it low and hard. It's in.
There's a really good compilation of all of his penalties, and it completely bears out your point. It's just like, it's the same thing again and again and again. And that's almost the way he does that, is that he takes the idea of the goalkeeper guessing right out of the equation by hitting it so hard and hitting it so true, and striking a ball well is pretty much his superpower. So it makes sense for him to do that. Trouble is, there are times like Saturday.
He didn't do that though.
Well, he did.
But he goes high.
But he did. He went high. The last time I saw him take a penalty, I don't think it was Inter. Maybe there was one after that. He has gone high before and it's worked. But he hit it so hard. He hit it so hard that when it hit the crossbar, it bounced 30 yards away from goal.
Yeah.
And so there was no chance of any kind of rebound or anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair to the team, that's the kind of situation in a game against a team like that, where you know the first goal is really important, then they'd already had lots of good play without getting the reward, to then get the penalty, which, sidebar, a very soft penalty. I think we need to acknowledge that it was a very soft penalty.
It's not soft lucky. It's not soft. A penalty that didn't really deny a goal-scoring opportunity in any way, shape, or form. It's a jammy one to get.
If you go back to the Brentford game away and look at the almost identical situation that Gakpo was in, that one felt like a penalty. This one did not.
Oh, it didn't feel like a penalty. I have not seen the replay on it.
No, didn't think it was. Anyway, but the point was it was given. The point was Liverpool had the opportunity to break this game open and do what they needed to do, and they didn't. And it's to their credit that they didn't let their heads drop. For the rest of that first half, they were still as sharp. They were still as inventive, I would say. They were still as determined to go out there and get the goal, and then it happens again. It starts from great work from Ekitike, the control to bring it down, and the dribble to get into the great position. Good vision from Jones to put it back to Flo. Flo bangs it into the top corner. You think, oh, okay, great. Liverpool have got the goal and get in at half-time with the lead. Everyone can relax, go out in the second half, get the second goal early, start to cruise. Unfortunately, that did not happen.
No, it didn't. I mean, there was half chances to have got the second goal. It was a strange game. I thought Liverpool set about the task well, as you've described. Getting fullbacks in behind was feature of the whole game. We got Jeremy Frimpong in behind time and time again, even in the second half. Kirkes had one really good position in behind where actually I thought he should have shot. But it's a 50-50 one where he goes to square it.
I think in that situation, looking at it again, Curtis is basically going, gimme, gimme, gimme. But by the time he then passes, the Burnley defender gets a chance to get in the way.
Curtis had to come across further, I thought, to make that the chance it was. But Jeremy Frimpong was hugely encouraging again. I mean, that's one thing we can say. The new signings are coming to the party now. I mean, the ones that aren't are the two that are injured and can't do anything about it. You have to say the summer's work in terms of who actually came in looks really good now.
It's strange, isn't it? It's kind of been like that. Really, the assessment of the summer signings.
It looks really good. I mean, there's still glaring. The badness about the summer signings is, I'm going to still say it, and others will say it, was selling Luis Diaz and not replacing Luis Diaz, failing to get Mark Gahey over the line. Those were the faults of the summer. Anyway, this game, I don't know. It's a real hard one to make sense of, but it is just, it's another bridge too far in terms of points being dropped again and again and again. And I just, it felt a bit like a straw that's broken the camel's back again. Yes,
and this is what I don't think I was going to come on to. I think if this was a game in isolation, that there would be a lot more sympathy for all of what we said about the good parts of it, how it felt like an improvement in dealing with that tactic.
If that was last season, I think we're going, one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I even put it back, I even kind of compared it to, we saw quite a few of those under Rafa Benitez, where we would draw a game against a team at home that we should probably beat, having dominated the game and somehow conceded a goal out of nowhere. And you think, and then maybe you get to the end of the season and you look back and you think, if maybe that draw had been a win, maybe we could have won the league. And I remember around 2008, 2009, there were a few seasons where there were a couple of results like that. But in the general main, they were still good seasons where Liverpool were winning games and you felt like it was a good football team. The problem we've got at the moment now is this isn't in isolation. This feels very much like, okay, people have started to lose patience. I think 4 draws in a row. And you can say, yes, one of those was against a team at the top of the league at their ground. Yes, I think most people would take that one. You can say another one against Fulham, the equaliser was like a worldy shot with seconds to go. That happens every now and then. But again, if you look at Leeds, Fulham, Arsenal, Burnley, that should be more than 4 points. And as much as people keep talking about, and we keep talking about...
I think we'd be in a title race had we picked up the points we should have picked up.
And I mean, maybe.
Well, had we beaten Leeds, Burnley and Fulham, right? That's it before we go back even further and look at Leeds away and Sunderland at home. Those games we also should have won. Before we even go that far back, it's easy to do that. Every team can do that. But for the grace of a bit more luck, quite frankly, in some of those games, and we'd be telling ourselves, okay, Arsenal have got a good lead on this, but we're giving nothing up.
So, okay, so your point, if Liverpool had won against Leeds, Fulham and Burnley and everything else was the same, they would be on 42 points, which is 1 point behind the two teams joint in second place, City. And it would look a lot different. But that wasn't the case.
That wasn't the case, no.
That did not happen. And I think, like I say, sympathy is at an all-time low because of all of those things we said, the fact that it's happened again and again and again. We
feel like we've become a spectacularly unlucky team as well. Okay, of course, we're prone, all fans feel this at certain points, and we're prone in the moment to forget, hang on, that was a fairly spawny penalty we got the weekend. But overall, in the balance of games, they just seem to have gone against us in ways they didn't need to go against us. Burnley score a great goal, but going back to XG, at the point he's lining up the shot, the odds are heavily against him scoring that shot.
So, the thing that annoyed me about the goal was that it was a period of slackness, and that was kind of the apex of it. So all the things that I said previously about how well we played in the first half, second half, that seemed to disappear. So 2 minutes in, it's fresh in my mind because I rewatched it this morning. 2 minutes in, there's a moment where Ali and Ubu get themselves in a bit of a tangle, lose the ball, and there's a shot from Marcus Edwards goes over. 2 minutes into the second half, and you just think, okay. They can kind of forget that, but they don't forget that. It kind of becomes a symptom of what happens, and what you start to see is Liverpool players kind of back on their heels when the ball's coming to them, and Burnley players on the front foot, nipping in front of it, stealing the ball away and going on attacks. And Burnley getting a little bit more adventurous, feeling like they can get out a little bit more out of their block. And you think, from Liverpool perspective, that should be good. That should be what we want because there's more space in behind to attack. But what happens is Burnley get more confidence and they start to kind of feel like they can get a platform in the game. And if you remember, there's a couple of moments just before. There's the one where...
The Konate-Alisson thing.
Yes, where he nearly scores an own goal.
Yeah.
But to give him a teeny bit of credit, I do think he's trying to play it back to him. He's just using his wrong foot and he's overhit it.
I don't think anyone did anything wrong. Ali and Ibu did quite well, I think, to sort that situation out in a muddled way. How does the cross come in that side? I can't remember. Is Kirkes beaten?
Yes. No. He crosses it from deeper. So he's not beaten yet, but he crosses it from deeper. But again, it's another situation where Liverpool have the ball and someone nips in ahead of someone to intercept it and get on the front foot. And then there's the goal where it looks like Liverpool are in a decent position. Ibu's probably late to recognise the danger.
Yeah,
doesn't come across, allows Edwards to get the shot off. And then I feel like peak Alisson still saves it. Now, you can look at it and say it's a great shot. You can look at it and say it's power, it's precision. There's even the bounce, which makes it more difficult for a goalkeeper. But this is Ali. And again, I don't know if I've just been so used to seeing him do the unbelievable, but I look at that and again, I think he will probably feel like he could have saved it.
I mean, I've only seen it the once in the ground at the game, and the angle looked narrow. And as he pulls his foot back, I think this is going to fizz across the goal. He's not. There's too much cover there. The angle is covered by. One of the. I turned to Steve, who was next to me. I went, one of them's at fault there. I can't tell which one, but one of them should have stopped that.
Well, I feel like both of them have a little of the blame. It's almost like neither of them are completely at fault. It's just a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and you put them together. But this is the problem that Liverpool are having, and there's something that Slot's mentioned a few times around the Sunderland game, where teams aren't necessarily having to dominate Liverpool for ages in order to break them down. It's like we have our period where we're attacking, and everything seems really difficult to get even an inch. And then the opponents get their chance and it seems a lot easier. And it shouldn't be that way. So even in the world, I was thinking about previous iterations of Liverpool, even in a world where the penalty is still missed, Liverpool going 1-0 at half time, you think the least that should happen from that game is Liverpool winning 1-0. But they concede a goal, which then means that they've got to then go and score again. And they created stuff after the equaliser, and there were some good positions. Like,
why was the disallowed goal disallowed? Again, I've seen it in the ground.
So, first of all, I think he's offside at the point of...
Ekitike is.
Yeah, Ekitike is offside at the point of the header, and also it hits his arm before he strikes it.
Right.
So even if he wasn't offside, it would have been given off as handball.
Yeah.
And it was, again...
The flag went up straight away.
Yeah, it's one of those, it's unlucky because he kind of like deflected off of him onto his arm. But whereas in a penalty situation that matters, if you're the goal scorer, that doesn't matter. Any touch of the hand, the ball is completely off. It's a handball, it's no goal.
Did we have one disallowed like that recently? Yeah, we did. Or was it allowed? Inter Milan away?
Yes.
It was disallowed,
yeah. That was disallowed.
Was it Konate?
It was Konate, yeah. The one with the header, and I think it was...
Was Ekitike again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was body to
headed
arm.
onto his arm, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a shame. But there were a few other moments. So there's like Szoboszlai gets a header from around the 6-yard around the penalty spot. There's the chance.
Did Gakpo have one cleared off the line?
Yes, he did have one cleared off the line. There was another chance from McAllister when he's just come on.
That was the best of them, I thought.
Yeah. I think if he'd been on the pitch for more than 30 seconds, he probably would have done a better job. But so you can look back on it and say that these weren't kind of like ridiculous chances. Again, going back to XG, if you look at the XG of those chances, they're probably low, but they didn't feel like low value chances. They felt like Liverpool had got into a dangerous position and got a shot away. Unfortunately, the shot wasn't good enough to beat the people in front of them.
This is Alexis McAllister there. He has the quality to lash that into the top of the net. So that and knowing that's what makes you feel unlucky. So I don't know. The most encouraging thing really in the second half was Rio Ngamoa for me. He really ran at them well. He beat his man a few times, got to the byline and put in half decent crosses. I thought he was lively. I thought he built a case. I'm not saying for starting, but I think we should be seeing quite a lot. I think we should be seeing more of Rio.
I think Burnley at home is exactly the kind of game that I would want to see Rio Ngamoa in. Although normally when I say that, that's because I'd be expecting Liverpool to be leading. So if Liverpool had managed to get... So, okay, in a world where Liverpool score the penalty and it's 2-0 at half-time, I wouldn't be averse to seeing him come on at half-time. And give him 45 minutes in a game like that, where you've got a lead and you can then use him to put pressure on them, to maybe push them back a bit at that point when they felt emboldened to come forward because it was only 1-0. Again, game state, game situations, all those kind of things probably come into it. But you mentioned Rio. There was no subs made until the 77th minute. So I think the equaliser comes on 65. So it gives them all another 10 minutes to kind of right the wrong of that goal. But then, I don't know. I look at the Liverpool bench, right?
That's the problem.
So here, I'm just going to read out the names of the people who are on the bench for this game. Alexis McAllister, Federico Chiesa, Andy Robertson, Rio Ngomora, Joe Gomez, Wataru Endo, Georgi Mamadashvili, Trey Nioni, and Calvin Ramsey.
Do you know the biggest game changer is there? It's Rio Ngomora. Yeah. In an attacking sense.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yes, it is. And then just for balance, or maybe just to make everyone feel really depressed, I'm going to read out Arsenal's bench from their 0-0 game against Nottingham Forest.
He was resting one or two.
But this is still the bench.
Bukayo
Saka, Gabriel Jesus, Eberici Eze, Leandro Trossard, Mikel Merino, Christian Mosquera, Kepa, Kai Havertz, and Mars Lewis Skelly. Night and day.
And those bums didn't score.
You can put 5 of them on. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the story of Liverpool's season, I think we will come back to look back on it as, and you can see so far, is that Liverpool have not had the energy post-65 that they had last season for various reasons. One is they've been bringing new players into this league who have been trying to acclimatise to playing 90 minutes in this league. We're talking about Ugo Ekitike, we're talking even about Kerkez, we're talking about Frimpong, and we're talking about Florian Wirtz. Only now are we seeing signs that the likes of Florian Wirtz might be able to do more than the 65s he's been doing. Same with Ekitike, only now and even then. So we've got a major core of the team through no fault of their own, and in a sense you can't blame the club because that was bound to happen. It's just that what did they think? I suppose it's what did they think was going to happen. But what we took out of that, obviously the tragedy of Diogo Jota is an issue, although Jota wasn't a regular starter last season because he's had many injuries. But Luis Diaz was, and Luis Diaz was a 90-minute player. And we seem to have lost that energy out of the side. But also last season we had... We had, including Chiesa, we had 6 forwards, didn't we? Well, okay, let's park Chiesa. We had 5 good forwards. So if somebody wasn't in form, we could put an elite forward like, quite frankly, Darwin Núñez, love or hate him, is a high-level forward with a lot of energy and a lot of pressing ability to bring onto a pitch. We just don't have that at the moment.
So there were lots of people who thought that Núñez was not good enough for Liverpool, myself included. And there was lots of people who spent most of last season saying we need to do better than him. However, I do also think in this situation where Liverpool need a goal in the last 10 to 15 minutes, he might not necessarily be a live option to get a goal for you, although he did score quite a few late goals.
Yeah.
He is able to create situations that will potentially create goals for other people. Liverpool feel more likely to score with him.
Well, his superpowers are he unsettled defenders. He was an agent of chaos at his best. But more importantly, he was even whatever criticisms you've got anyone's got of Darwin Núñez, he's way better than Federico Chiesa. Well, the current modern iteration of Federico Chiesa, different league. Chiesa, I don't want to be harsh, but he doesn't have the capacities to play at this level anymore for me.
No, and I mean, to be honest, we can talk about Chiesa, but he's not alone. So, okay, going back to the Núñez thing, 8 of his 24 Premier League goals were scored after the 75th minute. So that tells you that, again, he has the ability to be dangerous and decisive at that point in the game. But I mean,
it's the quality, but it's simpler than that. It's about the quality you have to bring off the bench. Our attacking options last season, at certain times, we could bring Jota and Núñez off the bench. Or if we hadn't started with, I'm just trying to think who we hadn't started. If we hadn't started with Gakpo, you could bring Gakpo and Núñez off the bench. That's better than bringing Chiesa and Ngomora on.
No, you're right. And if we're going to talk about the things that aren't happening at the moment and the people who aren't playing well, like Chiesa, then we do kind of have to mention Gakpo as well, because it's getting to a point now where...
I didn't think that was his worst game, by the way. I don't think he was great, but it wasn't his worst.
But it wasn't to me at the beginning of the season, but he just does the same thing. And I would always retort with, yeah, but you'd be surprised how often that same thing works.
The Arjen Robben retort. Yeah.
It stopped working. It hasn't worked in a long time.
And he was never Arjen Robben to start with.
I know,
he's a good player. He's a half decent player. I don't think but he's not the player we need.
No, and I think the fact that he is playing as he is playing in the starting lineup is what has actually advanced the case for some of the substitutes who may also not be great, but if he's not great, then it's like, well, you need to change something, which goes back again to what we're saying about squad building. And yeah, so these are all issues with execution.
We're going to talk about transfers.
Well, we're going to talk about transfers in a minute. I want to talk about Arne Slot first.
Yes.
Because these are all problems of execution. But what Slot is in charge of is the plan. And even though we said that there was an improvement, a slight improvement in how they went about things, the overall feeling amongst people out there is still that he and his tactics and his choice of personnel are one of, if not the only, big problem Liverpool face at the moment. I personally don't think it's the only problem, but it's harder to now look at it and say that it's not a problem. And the thing that I fear if I'm him or if I'm someone close to him is what we were saying before about the fact that people are starting to get fed up. People have had enough. People saying, I see it so much, something needs to change. Just something needs to change. Now, Arne Slot would say what needs to change is Liverpool's luck. We need to, the small margin need to go away. Some people will say what needs to change is his tactics. Some people will say what needs to change is his selection choices. Some people will say what needs to change is his position. And the problem is for him, when you get to the stage as a club where things aren't going well for a long period of time, the inevitability when everyone's saying something has to change, the most likely thing to change is the position of the head coach. Still.
Yep. Again, I did a show for this on the Anfield Wrap, and we went through it. And I thought about trying to get my own mind right on this one. I've never had a sustained period when it's gone awry with the Liverpool manager, apart from with Roy Hodgson, where I've thought he's got to go, and I've thought that coming out of the ground in a bad mood, when something's gone. I've thought that. But generally, once things settle down, you go, I can see a way through this. I tend to err towards the positive. I can see a way through it. I can see there's a world where we get a bit more luck, results start to go our way, we build a bit of momentum, maybe begin to progress in the Champions League. I can see that world, and we can all go, do you know what? Maybe he just had a perfect storm of a season. We finished it quite strongly. We go again with him next season. We plug some gaps in the squad. He won us the league. He's clearly a manager with enormous strengths and qualities. We go again. But I can also see the world we're living in today, which is a world where the season just hasn't been able to catch light since it started going wrong. Yes, we're 12 unbeaten now, but 12 unbeaten largely against opposition we'd expect to beat. Aside from, say, very good performances in Milan and at Arsenal, where we got a win and a draw, I don't think we're really looking at much in this 12-match unbeaten run where you go, great results. We're coming. I don't think. Can you think of any in that run?
So there's Brighton at home, but I do think that's
decent result.
I think that's cloud. I mean, I think in the context of previous games against Brighton at home, but that also is clouded by the fact, number one, Liverpool scored the first minute, and number two, Brighton missed some good chances in that game.
And the Spurs away, but then again, you look at Spurs going from bad to worse. But there's a lot of games in this run, and even just before the defeat setting, where you just go, how have we just not beaten these teams of this quality? The thing about I find it slightly difficult when people go, his tactics are obviously all awry, and he's picking the wrong people. I go, well, firstly, there aren't many different people to pick. Who do you want to start?
As we've just outlined.
You seriously want Chiesa to start? Someone want Minamino? Not Minamino. Sorry. Wataru Endo, thinking of great Japanese players of yesteryear. Wataru Endo to start? No, you don't. Do you want seriously a 17-year-old Engamo to start? Let's be sensible about this. So I'm not sure what selections they expect. I'm not sure what radical tactical shifts people expect. Are we going to play three at the back? I do think there are questions. The only question mark I think, which is to me kind of obvious, and maybe it isn't obvious to professionals, but is down the left-hand side, the way we set up Kirkes and Gakpo looks like they're kept apart from each other in the week. I find it really strange that one doesn't seem to have a clear idea what the other's meant to do. I watch Gakpo's on the ball and thinking, Kirkes, make the run for him, and vice versa. When Kirk's ball, Gakpo, give him something, and they just stand still behind the other.
I do have sympathy for Kirkers in this situation.
I think he's done well, by the way.
Because, yeah, I do.
Increasingly well.
And I think recently in the last few games, what we've seen him is kind of let off the leash a little bit, because in the earlier on in his Liverpool career, it was almost like he was expected to stay. And when Liverpool had a back three and build up for drop back, and he can go out and do what he does naturally. In terms of that relationship, it's almost like, I don't know what happened. Maybe he shat in Gakpo's shoe when they first arrived, but it's almost like he doesn't see him.
They don't see each. Well, Gakpo doesn't see him.
But and once it starts, and he's like, oh, well, he's not going to pass to me. What naturally happens is, well, okay, I'm going to not look at him either. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be able to build some kind of relationship. But this goes back to what we were saying before about Cody. Like, you can bet that the coaches, that Slot, that all the other coaches, the teammates, everybody has said to him, look, you need to maybe mix it up a little. Maybe every now and then go on the outside or use the run outside you, just so they don't keep loading up.
He can do it, actually. I mean, he does it once in that game. I think in the second half he goes outside his man quite effectively, gets a decent crossing. But why he wants to be so one-dimensional?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just instinct. Maybe he doesn't even really know he's doing it. Maybe he's another one who needs a hypnotist. I used to say that last season about Nunes. He needs a hypnotist. Maybe we should get a professional hypnotist to come in. Who knows?
Florian Wirtz was good. Can we just add with that?
Yes. Yeah, every now and then we need to kind of mix in some positive things. And yes, Florian Wirtz was very good. I think for all of the time that others spent maybe hoping that he wouldn't come good. I mean, from people from outside of the club, I didn't think that was ever going to be the case. I always thought he was going to get there. And he's too good. And hopefully his influence will grow and grow and grow. Not finished on the manager, unfortunately.
Go on.
I think one of the things that makes his position even harder, which is entirely out of his control, is the Alonso.
The spectre of Xabi.
Yes. Hanging above his head like a sword of Damocles.
It makes it really interesting. I mean, let's be objective. We're Liverpool fans here, and much as people, I respect those who say, let's be loyal to a title-winning manager. Sure, let's be loyal to Liverpool Football Club first, last, and always. What best serves Liverpool Football Club's interests? One thing I think was established, although the powers that be wouldn't say it out loud, is that when they drew up their list the day Jurgen announced he was leaving, I think it's pretty obvious Xabi was top of it.
I think so. They haven't. The club have said it otherwise. They've said that he was top of all the metrics. That he was always the one that they wanted to go for, which sounds easy because by that point Alonso had already made it clear that he wasn't ready to leave Leverkusen. So whether that means that Liverpool technically weren't being disingenuous by saying he was the top of the list of available people. Yeah. Or if he was top of the top of the top. But yeah,
if they could have had anybody.
If you think back to that time, there were lots of people who were saying the one thing you don't want to be is the guy who follows Jurgen Klopp. You don't want to be that guy. And the other thing that people were saying was, the problem with Xabi Alonso is you get him in and suddenly Real Madrid are going to try and whisk him away. Well, as we sit here right now,
that itch has been
neither
scratched.
of those things are a problem because someone has come in and replaced Jurgen Klopp, and he's already been through the Madrid machine and been spat out.
So, I mean, this is the bit that intrigues and baffles me in equal measure, I think. We've got a Liverpool manager, we've got a Liverpool team. Actually, let me take a step back. My problem isn't so much with Arne Slot per se. My problem is where we are and what the whole situation looks like now. The situation with people booing in the ground is a situation where you think it's toxic. It's the beginning of toxic,
yes,
right? Believers are now doubters. There is not throughout the club. Not everybody believes in everybody else. I think there are those, including supporters, who will be asking questions of Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards and their view of transfers.
Absolutely.
People look to this window and go, what's going on there? The ownership, who are not as day-to-day as the director of football, will be going, when they check in on the results, they will be like fans going, are we committed to this guy, Arne Slot? We're not getting results. What's going on here? The players who are human will also be having doubts about the main guy, because that's what players do, just as that's what fans do. It's an unfortunate fact of life that results count in football, and if you don't get the results as a manager, it's on you. And somehow, by some mystical way, it's you who've caused the adverse results.
I think it's funny as well when you mention the players. I think we often hear about how a manager losing the dressing room is one of the last nails in his coffin. I'm not 100% sure it's always that manager loses
too
the dressing
simplistic.
room. I think it is too simplistic. I think what's more likely is that the players have a better sense for how the manager is, the authority of a manager with those above him, than all of us. So maybe there are times when they get wind that authority has been weakened, and so suddenly they think, okay, well, this guy might not be long for here. So that changes how they view what he's saying and what he's doing.
Do you know what I think it is, Mo? I think they smell fear. They smell fear on the man. The man they thought was their leader, their God figure, their father figure, as he comes into the dressing room. As a successful manager walks in, and there's an aura around that man. The minute bad results erode aura, they know that the man can't put his chin out the way he did when he was winning football matches. A manager could have done fuck all in that dressing room, but if he wins 10 on the bounce, like Brian Clough sort of famously, just come in, shout a few things, do nothing on the training, but at the end of the day, the aura was brought by results.
Honestly, whenever I listen to one of his former players talk about Brian Clough, I'm like, how was this man successful at all? Because some of the things that he did were just insane. But you're right.
Leaders can do everything by the leadership textbook, right? They can do everything right. But when the results required of the endeavor in whatever industry it is don't go your way, I've been involved in organizations where I've had to be a leader throughout my entire career. When things go against you, people look at you in a different way. Yeah. It's just the way of the world. And unfortunately, football is the same thing. And you have to, obviously it's foolish to knee-jerk and just get rid of somebody at the first sign of trouble. But it isn't the first sign of trouble now. Things are beginning to be ingrained as to whether this manager can turn it so comprehensively around that Liverpool can see themselves challenging for the league next season or the Champions League even this season. The problem, to go back to your point, is the Xabi Alonso thing for Arne Slot. For Liverpool, it might be a wonderful opportunity to correct a problem. And I don't want to celebrate or call for a man to lose his job. But for Liverpool Football Club right now, it's very, very interesting, this opportunity.
It is. And I think most of us would prefer, if there's going to be a manager change, naturally, would prefer it to happen at the end of a season rather than mid-season. I think it just makes it easier on both parties, the man leaving and the man coming in, to deal with everything over the course of the summer, get a pre-season, get all your new ideas in, hit the ground running, etc., etc. That's normally how I would like things to go.
Sort of the sane approach.
The sane approach,
but
yes.
There's a part of me as a fan that likes the mad drama. Well, no, I don't like the drama. I think there's just a chance that because it would, if it was announced tomorrow that Arne Slot had been sacked by Liverpool, and 2 days later Xabi Alonso is there in a press conference, LFC world would go wild, right, with excitement, because do you know why? It would, even if it was a false dawn, the sense that it was the start of being able to galvanize something would be palpable.
But this is my point: is that him coming in now in that world, it would feel great, but would it actually
manifest
would it solve any of the problems we've got at the moment just instantly? I'm not sure it would. The other thing that we have to factor in, for all what I was saying before about how there are two little wrinkles in that. Number one, who else is looking for a manager, i.e. quite a few clubs.
Yep, it's a hell of a merry-go-round.
So it might be a case of having to strike while the iron's hot. Liverpool haven't really been good at doing that when it comes to players. We'll get onto that in a minute. So they can't really afford to take that same approach with managers. And if you think about the last successful manager we brought in, that's exactly what they did. People, at the point when Brendan Rodgers was relieved of his duty, people were surprised. Not because they thought that he didn't deserve to lose his job, just because of when it happened. Ironically, 2 months after it should have happened. But it happened because that was the point when they knew that they could go and get Jurgen Klopp. So as much as it makes sense for Liverpool, even if they are having doubts about Arne Slot, to let him see out the season because they believe that he can still achieve this season's goals of Champions League, present and future. But if those things come into jeopardy, or if the man you want to replace him, it seems to be going elsewhere, that's when you need to act. And I don't know what's going to happen.
Opportunity knocks in football. I mean, I know we're going to come on to this, but the Mark Gay saga, which has gone against us, is an exact example of why you strike while the iron is hot in football. It's the market for quality players and quality managers is hugely competitive. Unless you can get a gentleman's agreement on the side with someone like Xabi Alonso that he's going to join in May, and no one in the world gets to find out about that, fine. And you get his signature on a contract that he's definitely joining. But that's not quite how the world is likely to work.
I mean, people had thought that Liverpool did have that with Mark Gay, and look how that ended up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly, because people go, yeah, I'd really like to join you, but we'll sort this in the summer. Let's just all be chilled about this. The question is does Xabi Alonso want to come to Liverpool right now? There's a case for saying that it would be a good thing for him to do, because just like Liverpool might miss out on opportunity of him as a manager, he might miss out on the Liverpool job. If, for example, I don't know, somebody, Luis Enrique, put his hat in the ring.
Liverpool don't change managers very often.
No, they don't. Well, traditionally, they don't. But if Luis Enrique threw his hat in the ring, Liverpool would have another decision to make. He's a top quality manager. Pep Guardiola could be looking for a new opportunity in May. Seems unlikely, that one, but
I think Pep coming to Liverpool is as likely as Klopp going to Real Madrid.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it isn't impossible that Jurgen Klopp, with another month under his belt on the beach or wherever he is these days, goes, do you know what, I fancy coming back, and if Liverpool asked me, I would. I find it slightly bizarre how nobody talks about whether Jurgen should come back or not anymore, as if it's... I mean, I would have Jurgen Klopp back. Why do people think he's like some sort of... It's akin to bringing back Kenny. It's not. He's only been out of work for a year.
I think the complication is the people who have come back since he's been on. And now that may have been overplayed in the same way the relationship between...
Oh, the fact that he doesn't get on with Edwards.
And well, it's not just Edwards, it's Julian Ward as well. And basically everybody came back. And that may be overplayed in a similar way to the whole Mane Salah thing is overplayed. We don't know. We're not in the room with those people. But it did feel a little bit like the way that it was almost immediately once he left that they went for them kind of made it look or feel like that was part of the reason why they left. The other thing is that I think there's an article that's come out in the last 2 days with Klopp where he says, I'm happy. I'm doing the job I want to do. So that's why I don't think Liverpool...
Yeah, I think Liverpool would be remiss to not approach him. I mean, notwithstanding that there isn't a massive problem with Michael Edwards, as you said, has often been intimated, but I'm not confident of that because Klopp has been asked that question and denied it categorically. Whether he's telling the truth is another matter.
There is another part to this, though.
What?
When Klopp left, he said he's run out of energy. And I don't think he just meant in terms of, I don't want to be out on the training pitch every time. I think it's everything it takes to be a Liverpool manager. It's like
it's the all or nothing.
Talking to knobheads like me on a regular basis.
Yeah, the all or nothing nature of it. But people. Kenny Dalglish said that when he left the Liverpool job in 1991, and within a year he was back as manager of Blackburn, and within a year of that leading them to a league title. Right, so people do have their moment of burnout and come back. Look, it's a bit. What's the word? Step back on this one, step off on it, because there is no indication really, apart from a throwaway comment in an interview with that fella, that he would ever come back into full-time managing. More of his pronouncements have been not being so. So let's stick with the immediate present. The Xabi Alonso thing. What do you think, Mo? Behind the scenes, I have to say, if I was Edwards or Hughes, I'd be hugely intrigued about this.
I put it this way. I would not be put off by what happened to him at Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid is a very specific situation that requires very specific management. And you almost need someone who doesn't really want to manage. Doesn't really want to coach, but just wants to manage. So some of the details have come out about Carlo Ancelotti where he would let some of the senior players take tactical sessions, even like in the lead up to I think the Champions League final, the last one they won against Dortmund.
Oh, really?
Alonso's not doing that. He's the manager.
So he made Ancelotti turn them more like into a cricket team, where the captain runs the side.
Yeah, pretty much. And that works in Real Madrid because the players have a massively inflated opinion of themselves. I think the kind of things that he wanted them to do are the kind of things that most Liverpool supporters want their team to do. So if he was to come here and try and put those methods into place, I think people would be happy with it. I think there's still a question around the way he likes to play and how much that suits everybody in the squad.
The three at the back thing.
Well, yes, but you could argue to say that we're now in a situation that the only issue with trying to play three at the back is that we've only got three centre-halves.
Yeah, we might be worried about playing two at the back quite soon, yeah.
But outside of that, you can almost see a world in which it suits, or at least the players Liverpool expect to have long term. But we've got 10 minutes left. Let's do a little bit of a transfer talk.
Let's do it.
You talked about Mark Gahey. When the news that he was going to City dropped on Friday, it did feel like a bomb had gone off amongst the Liverpool fan base because everybody was just in a state of shock, but also there was anger, depression, all kinds of negative emotions flooding through because it was one that Liverpool had in their hand and for other reasons no longer had in their hand. And not just the fact that Liverpool didn't get him, but it was that City did get him. City got him for £20 million worth of transfer fee and probably a lot more besides in wages, signing on fee, agent fees, etc., etc.
And this supposed 300 grand a week contract.
But they were willing to go above and beyond. They felt like their need, which all people talk about the injuries City have got, they've also got Ake and Stones coming to the end of their contracts. So they're going to need it whether they had the injured players or not. And Liverpool are in exactly the same position and decided against it.
Right, before I say what I'm going to say, think what I think, as most Liverpool fans do, this could all be undone if Liverpool announced the signing of a credible centre-half before January the 31st.
Yes.
They could announce that they've trumped Chelsea to the signature of Xhaka, for example. They could announce they've done the lad from Bruges, Ordonez. Mm-hmm. We don't know a lot about him, but if that happened, or Xhaka for that matter, if that happened, people would trust the scouting network and go, oh, okay, they decided that those guys were actually now available and a better bet than Mark Gay, certainly at the inflated wage he wanted. And I think people would calm down. So we have to caveat with that. Having said that, when Liverpool tend to have done business in the January, there was the case of Luis Diaz, which came later in the window one year because Tottenham were moving, a price was set and Liverpool were able to move. I'm praying that might be the case with Xhaka. I doubt it, though. I think all indications are that Liverpool haven't got a centre-half candidate that they can get over the line this window. And that makes the mistakes they made in the last window more extreme by comparison.
Agreed.
I do think it's been said in other quarters that those responsible for getting transfers over the line, Richard Hughes and his team, people behind Richard Hughes, sometimes need to speak up and explain themselves. Arne Slot has to sit in front of a press pack every time Liverpool get a bad result and explain away sometimes the unexplainable. Well, they messed up on Mark Gahey in the summer. Anyone can see that. They waited till the last minute on this one. They played a game of brinkmanship, which maybe at the time they felt was right, but the way it fell out of bed within hours, simply because Palace couldn't get a defender over the line, said they left it far too late, and they left it at the whim of whether Palace's recruitment team was up to scratch or not, and for the sake of what? Parish was vocal about wanting the money. Parish, the chairman of Crystal Palace. Mm-hmm. Everyone's guessing at the amount. 5 million more a month before would have got that player over the line, and Liverpool would have signed him for a modest amount, and probably, I bet he was coming for about 180 in wages, by the way, not 300. I reckon it was done for around then. That's a reasonable guess. Now we are where we are. And I think there needs to be some accountability for that. Everyone, by the way, we all praise them to the skies, and rightly so for the big name signings that they did bring in. But they dropped one, and they need to admit it, or they need to put it right damn quickly. I mean, Arne Slot's comments at the press conference pre-Burnley were, I hope, instructive. He talked about everybody is aligned with what Liverpool needs. Now, that said to me and you and others, what that means is they can see exactly what we see, which in Liverpool are a defensive injury away from a crisis. They're probably a forward injury away from a crisis. We're all so it says to me they're aligned in knowing what they need to do. We'll just do it.
Well, that's one reading of it. I took a slightly different reading of it.
Okay.
So when he said that we're all aligned, I think number one, that was to counteract some of the suggestions that there had been disagreements between Slot and Hughes about some of the strategies, some of the decisions, namely the not replacing Luis Diaz.
But was that even suggested to him when he said that?
No. It wasn't suggested to him, but those reports are out there. He would know it. He would know that. And second of all, I think that when he says that we're all aligned, that doesn't necessarily mean to say we all agree to wait. And that
it could mean that, yeah.
And that there are other options within the squad to solve some of these problems on a temporary basis. That's the point I'm concerned about. Because if that is the case, then you're right to say that nothing is likely to be done immediately. But
if they don't think we need some sort of surgery this window, then they're stupid. Right, and I don't think they are. I think they think it's important to try and do something this window, and I think the manager is aligned with that thinking. It's the competence in getting it done, or the risk-reward side of that.
So for me, this is the point where, for all of their celebrated work and deals that they've done, this team in both the iterations at the club, the thing that I've always felt like is that they aren't very good at reacting quickly to changing circumstances. You mentioned the Diaz to Spurs deal. That feels very much like an anomaly. That's one time where something changed quickly and Liverpool were able to jump on it. So what's happening now? You mentioned Jeremy Jacquet as well. It's all well and good for Liverpool to say that we're going to wait until the summer, but if other clubs aren't willing to wait and then some of your options or your potential targets are getting picked off left, right and centre, then that feels like a time to maybe reassess your plans and maybe go into action. And I don't know if that is happening. I don't know if that's how they think about things, but we will find out in the next 11 to 12 days.
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool, to their credit, keep things very quiet. I mean, I remember at the height of discontent in the summer before Klopp announces his retirement, from nowhere they went in with a £112 million bid for Caicedo.
Yes.
You know, okay, it was unsuccessful, but it showed an attempt to throw money at the situation to solve a real problem. Maybe too little, not too much, too late, but...
And in fairness to them, that was an occasion where what they wanted didn't happen, Caicedo. What they thought was going to happen didn't happen, Lavia. And then they pivoted to Gravenberch and Endo. So there was an option, but that's the summer.
Yeah.
That's not a 1 month window. It's probably easier to do it in the summer than it is in a 1 month window. We shall see.
We shall see. It's a World Cup summer window, you know.
Yes. Well, this is it. I've been saying this a lot as well. The World Cup throws so much up in the air. Oh, wow. We have done an hour already.
Call it then, Mo. Go on to the other one.
Yeah, there's still plenty more on this agenda. Don't worry. We're going to be talking about Kanate. We're going to be talking about Curtis Jones and contracts. We're going to be talking about Marseille because Liverpool got more football to come and the Champions League in general. We're going to be talking about pubs because this fella's opened another one and he's doing a podcast talking about them. So both of those things should interest you. Plus, there's some more new cultural things that I think you guys need to hear about. Some films and TV shows that I've enjoyed that I want to let you know about. But all of that is over on, so give yourself a chance to go over, maybe make yourself a cup of tea, go onto the website, click through, subscribe, come and join us. You will have some fun. If you don't feel like doing that, the least you could do is tell people how much you've enjoyed this show. Tell us how much you've enjoyed this show. Click the like button, click the subscribe button, send us a comment. Tell us how much you've enjoyed this show. Tell us if it's made you feel better. Tell us if it's made you feel worse. We probably won't do anything, but tell us anyway. But anyway, Rob, it's been wonderful.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you. And thank you. We'll see you again soon.